Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode. As always, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on, thank you guys so much for all of the support, all of the messages, all of the things that you've sent to me, all the things that you've sent to the show, all of the ideas, all the topics, all the suggestions and questions you have. Love hearing from you guys, love interacting with you guys. So keep those coming. I love staying connected with y'all and hearing about the things that are going on in your coaching world and the things that you want to hear conversations about. As I was talking about with my guests before we started recording, and I'm sure those of you listening for any length of time know, I'm super passionate about the girls' side of the game. I've been at my current school coaching girls since 2018 now, so I've been involved in the girls' game in a while, and I'm very, very passionate about keeping girls in the game, making sure that not only they start with us but end with us as well. Things that might be pulling girls away from the game and how we can kind of work to make sure that basketball is exciting. How to keep girls who are interested in the game at the high school level, keep them interested in playing in college and get them motivated to maybe pursue it at the next level, as well as even ideas about getting new coaches in the game and get them involved with coaching girls and everything involving the girls side. We're gonna jump into. So I'm super excited to talk to my guest about it, as well as me on a personal level, to talk about this very important topic of keeping our girls into the game. So we're gonna jump right into it here with my guest, who is currently the women's head coach out there at Centennial High School out in Tennessee. Very happy to be joined today by Coach Marcel Williams. Coach, again, pleasure to have you on today. How are things going?
Thank you for having me. It's going great.
Great. Coach, let's start with your journey. Talk to us about this game of basketball. Where has it taken you? Where's this coaching journey taken you? And ultimately, how did you end up at Centennial High School?
Good question. I started playing basketball a long, long time ago. Went to Austin P to play do my 4 years, and then I went back home during the back home time, trying to figure out what I want to do as far as play basketball overseas or anything like that. I started coaching at my old high school on the boys' side. I did a season, and that was fun. I did the freshman team, and then I was like the varsity assistant. And then kind of was like, I'm ready to kind of do something else. So I moved back to Nashville, and then Nashville, I did a middle school girls and I had fun with them. I kind of really loved the game at that point, as far as like
Mm,
how the girls game, how the girls listen. We had a really good year. We was 12-3. We just didn't have the size in middle school to keep it going. So then I was like, okay, that was fun. So let me try to get to high school. And then one of my old coaches was coaching at Brentwood High School on the boys' side, and he was like, "The girls is looking for an assistant coach." So I joined that. I joined them, and I was there for about 8 years. Had some fun times. Really loved the girls. Loved the school. It was one that I really was like, I'm a girls' coach. Um, During my time there, we was 102-49, a couple district championships. And they really wanted some of the spotlight,
hmm
and they wanted to shine, so they played with a chip on their shoulder, and they wanted the school. They played like, I would say that stretch they played for the school, and it was really fun to see. And I was with them, and then I got an opportunity to be the head coach and kind of take the reins myself. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I
Yeah.
kind of some things that I learned and some advice that I would give myself moving forward. But did 72-23 in 3 years. We shot a lot of threes one season, made 105 threes. It was a really fun group that had zero expectation, and then expectations started pouring on, and then some of the girls kind of felt that pressure, and it wasn't the same anymore, but we still had fun. We still made it what it was. And then I took a rebuilding job at Centennial, trying to one challenge myself to be a better coach. And we went 1-27. It was definitely tough, and trying to see if I can definitely improve on that next year.
It's incredible about a story about all the different types of experience that you've had and all the different like things that you've taken along the way at each stop. I'm curious for you about when you first jumped into the girls' side of coaching, was there a big uh, difference that you noticed in terms of the way that you had to coach and the way that you were coaching girls versus boys? What was that like for you is when you first made that move over to coaching on the girls' side?
The first move, I said the motivation for them to play, and you had to be a little bit more of a motivator. Boys, everybody think they're going to the NBA, so that was pretty easy. But I would say uh, motivating them a little bit more to play or get some extra shots up. I went to, like I said, at Brentwood's. Education is really great there. So I remember I asked this girl, did she want to get some extra shots up after practice? And she was like, Marcel, I have to study for a test tomorrow. And and that's when I was like, okay, this is different.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Some just I feel like the guys you can't get them out of the gym, but no, I've been there too. Where it's like, no, I got things going on, got things
Yeah,
to do, I got stuff to study for, things I'm applying for, and it's like, oh, okay, all right. It's a little bit of a difference, definitely. Um,
yeah.
Coach, I know that one of the things that you're also passionate about is informing parents about, the things related to the transfer portal. And I know that's something that you were kind of talking to me about is how parents need to maybe have a mindset shift or kind of change their mindset when it regards to the transfer portal. So I was curious about what advice would you maybe give to parents, or what are some things that you think they might not be aware about at the transfer portal that might be able to help them become a little bit more informed?
I would say first you got to like have an honest evaluation of your daughter and see if she wants to play at the next level, what's the best fit. And I think junior colleges are more uh, avenue route that they can play, kind of gain some stats on the college level. I think when it comes to the transfer portal, parents should look out for like a lot of colleges want transfers from colleges. High school kids are kind of getting looked over unless you're like in the top, I would say 200. Um, like this past event, I'm pretty sure coaches already knew where they were going. They already knew who they were scouting. They had a feeling on who was going to get an offer. And I see a lot of these events that have zero coaches on the baseline. And it's like you got to evaluate, kind of look at schools realistically of I may not be Division 1 because Division 1s aren't looking at high school players. And I might have to look
Hmm.
at D2s and be okay with that because I feel like I would rather be a 4-year player and then a 4-year girl that may be on the bench or being in the portal because losing the love of the game can happen very quickly.
Yeah, it's a conversation, right, that I feel like we often have with our players about, hey, you have the opportunity to go play in college. Like, hey, that'd be great. Go ahead and take it and make that leap and make that jump to it. But to the point that you just brought up, right, if a player is gonna go and put the effort to go play at the college level, but they're not getting the experience out of it that they want. They're not really playing that much. It's not really a fun environment for them. They're not getting much out of it. Then just saying that, hey, I'm gonna go to college and saying, okay, you got to play college basketball, like that might not mean that much to some players if they're actually not playing and they're actually, not on the court that much.
Right.
And so you also bring up another point too about, do you think that parents are informed enough about what's out there in terms of like junior colleges or like NAIA or like, D3? Do you think that there's kind of some misconception about what that style of basketball is like? Because I feel like in my conversation with parents, a lot of parents are very like unaware about, the level of basketball or the opportunities that exist even at, D3s or NAIA. They kind of only see like the bigger high level like D1 or D2 type colleges.
Yeah, I think they look down on it. But I
Hmm.
think like some of the like D3 schools have really good education that people don't really know about. There's some really good NAIA schools, really good D2 schools. Um, I think they just don't know and misinformed on it's an opportunity to play and also go for free or get close to free. I've been helping out this girl that I since the COVID and we kind of started. I had a plan for her. She actually listened, which is shocking to me. So I got to shout her out, Jade. And we came up with a plan. She was going to go do the junior college route, She then went to Shawnee State. She did 2 years there. Now she's going to get a master's at University of Mobile. So, and I think she hasn't paid more than $1,000 in her 5 years. Did she get an extra COVID year?
Mm.
So me and her, parents, they always thank me coming up with a plan for her on like how you want to play, how you want to get through this. And she wanted to play and she can play. So we kind of came up with an idea, but I think parents got to come up with a plan on what do we want to do? How do we want to keep it engaged? And also, you get an education out of this. If you can get a master's out of it as well, that's a plus.
And I love that you brought that up because I got a couple girls who are looking at their options about what they want to do collegiately, and their focus is, really their top of their mind focus is okay, but like what education am I getting if I do go here? Because I'm ready for, what my career is after I graduate college. Like I'm ready for whatever that next step is going to be. And so I think it's great when you have those, you can have those conversations with players and they have that, focus on like their education in mind and what they want to get out of it because I think you can get some real good conversations that players can have with possible coaches and people who are recruiting them about like, hey, what is this school going to do for me for the future if I play for you, and how is it going to help me prepare for what I'm ready to do after basketball? I think it's great when players already have that mindset going into college that they're there to get that education for whatever their next step is going to be afterwards.
Right. Definitely. You got to have a plan.
Oh, definitely. Coach, I wanted to start with because I know you talked about how this past season at Centennial is definitely really much year one of the rebuilding process, and there were some lumps along the way. And so, um, kind of knowing that in your experience, what is kind of keeping girls from staying in the game? What do you kind of see as kind of the difficulties or the problems that are kind of having our girls kind of look elsewhere or go do other things besides sticking with basketball?
I'm gonna say I think this point hasn't been brought up, but I think girls basketball from a skill standpoint has gotten so much better over the last 10 years that some girls just feel like I'm not good enough. So they don't even try. We have a really good I would say girls here in the state of Tennessee. So I see a lot of girls be like, I'm shying away from it because the girls are so good in middle school. Or it could be a middle school situation as far as coaching goes that I've seen that they stop playing before they even get to high school. So I would say keeping them in the game, keeping them around the game has been difficult. We got volleyball. A lot of parents want to be one track minded when it comes to sports because it's kind of expensive, and I understand that. So, if the girls play volleyball, then she's going to stick with volleyball throughout her high school career. And like I mentioned earlier before we talked, flag football is coming into the mix. And you can also get a scholarship to go to college to play flag football, which is I think is amazing. I think that's
Yeah,
going to be a new upswing. If I can get an education playing flag football, sign me up.
have opened up some new doors for sure.
And yeah, and also the girls' game of basketball, there is running involved. There is a little bumping every now and then, and I think that is pushed girls away.
So knowing that's something that you kind of stepped into, right? You stepped into a program that was definitely rebuilding. There's probably a lot of girls who, could have pursued other options or could have done other stuff, but part of your job, of course, was to make sure that you kept those girls like in the game and kept them in the program, even though they were going through a hard season. What did you find kind of worked in terms of keeping the group that you had this past year? I know it was kind of a smaller group, but what kind of kept them together and kept them sticking through it, even though it was a difficult year?
It's a great question, man. I wish I kind of knew, but I know we laughed a lot. You would be amazed. I probably laughed so much this past season just on like the silliness of the girls. So I would say I had to let a lot of stuff go to kind of gain some type of trust. And like I said, I got the job in July, which they didn't know me. And I tried to recruit some girls to come to the team that was already in the school. But I would say it was very difficult, but I knew they loved the game. They just we didn't have enough girls. They would always be like, we just need a couple more girls to be competitive. And and we ran out of gas. It would be the third quarter or later in the season. Teams knew we couldn't handle a press, so they would press us, and they kind of had the old mindset of just like giving up. So we had to kind of go through the therapy session of talking about giving up and staying focused, keeping it a tight ball game, and giving us some hope. So I would say, I kept it light, try to play some music, try to let them be the DJ every now and then. Um, but I'm really trying to focus on how to do that even more next year to add some new girls. And also it helped to have some, we didn't really have a freshman class. So when you still have the same regime coming back, they still got that um, old way of thinking. And I'm coming in
Yeah.
with a new mindset. They're like, I don't believe you. So I had
Yeah,
to
for sure.
had to massage a lot of egos. I'll tell you that.
There's a lot of trust that you got to earn, I imagine, right? Or there's a lot of things that you have to say, like, hey, this is how you're used to doing things, but like, this is how we're gonna do things here, and kind of like trust the process of everything and keep them involved. But it sounds like one of the things that was kind of really helpful for you, coach, is that there was a lot of stuff that like kind of brought your team together. Like there was things that were happening maybe outside of the basketball court, or things that were kind of team bonding, or like your group just became like really close to one another. You talked about how you never laughed as much as you have this past year. So it sounds like there's like strong bonds that that kind of kept the girls connected even through a difficult season.
Yeah, but I'm one to get to know the girls outside of basketball to kind of what motivates them, what they like to do. So just having those regular conversations, trying to be a big brother to them in any situation, you kind of you sparkle conversations that'll just be like, these girls are very funny.
Yeah, and once you build those bonds with them, right? It's like okay, like this is it's a good group, and it keeps you. I think for me, like when I've had some lean seasons, definitely kept me motivated, definitely kept me like excited because even if things weren't on the court going that great, like I enjoyed the time that I spent with them, and I think they enjoyed the time that they spent with each other, and for me, that could really fuel me through some tough stretches during the year, just knowing that it's like a good group to be around.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like I said, they knew that they had a little bit of a little bit more help with some girls that we had, and then end up leaving the team. They knew that we had it. We just needed a couple more girls. So they kind of kept them motivated to keep getting better. We had this thing at one point, it was like everybody got to do their job at a burger shop. So some people got to get 8 points, somebody got to get rebounds. So we try to set different goals in the game to be like, hey, I need you to get 8 points. Can you give me 8 points tonight? Because we were struggling with scoring. So I would say different little motivators during the game and build that confidence. That's just something that I try to pour into them. Is like, let's take it step by step, and then maybe at the end of the year in that district champion or the district playoffs, we can probably steal a game, but we didn't do that.
But like one of the things you brought up though that I think is really cool, and I've heard this from other coaches too, is that you can still find success or find ways to measure success in a game that have nothing to do with like the final score. I felt like from what you kind of brought about and what you talked about, and I've done this too with some of my definitely more struggling teams, is set those goals or have those things that we try to accomplish during a game that even though we may not end up winning that game, there may be still like three or four things that we wanted to accomplish in that game or succeed, these smaller goals or smaller things we wanted to get better at that we did get better at. And I think when girls like can see those even those small things as success or things that they're accomplishing, like that can be enough to, keep them motivated and keep them excited.
Yeah, it was actually motivating me a lot too. I mean,
Was it? Yeah.
I'll have referees, they would come to me after the game and be like, man, you guys are way better than I seen you last time. And I'll be like, what game did you see? And I'll be like, oh yeah, we had a bad game. So even the referees kind of saw that us, improving, and that kind of gave me a little more confidence of just keep doing what we were doing.
No, fa fantastic. No, I love that. And it's always nice when you get that outside perspective. Sometimes when you're in the program, sometimes I don't know if everyone else can see some of the improvements that we're making, but when somebody else from the outside says, "Oh, from where you were to where you are now, man, you've gotten a lot better. Your girls have gotten a lot better." I'm like, okay, cool. So it's not just me thinking they've gotten better. Other people see it too. So no, that's
And we
that's really
saw it.
cool.
By the time we were kind of clicking and we felt confident, they just, like I said, keep going back to, we just needed more girls from the school to play, and they felt like we could have had a little bit better season. But I like the direction that we kind of ended with. We had some up and down games. It's just being consistent isn't easy, so you're gonna have that. So I was pleased with how we played. We just need more girls, man.
When you think of the idea, and I think as girls coaches, a lot of us have to do it. I feel like I have to do it every single year. Kind of like sell our sport and get girls to enjoy our sport because it offers things that maybe they're not going to get at other sports. And I'm not disparaging or saying anything bad about other sports, but there's
Right.
obviously things that are unique to basketball that make it appealing to certain type of athletes. So, kind of in your opinion, what do you think, we as coaches maybe can do to, really sell the game of basketball to our girls at our school and make it, really, really appealing and kind of sell it to them that this is an opportunity and a sport that they can play that offers things that maybe other sports can't.
I would say this. I would say from a coaching standpoint, and I might be a hypocrite of even saying this sometimes, but yelling at them goes along. Like not yelling at them so much probably is the thing I hear the most. Um, I probably went off a little bit, maybe one game or two, they might say. But for the most part, I told them like I'm not yelling. One
Yeah.
because they don't even hear the message; they just hear me yelling at them. But by the time I may yell at them, they already know like this has been brewing up. And then I always see that in middle school. Like by the time they get to high school, there was like, oh, she had a bad experience with a coach. And I'm like, you shouldn't be getting yelled at in middle school. You shouldn't be
Mm,
getting yelled at early in your playing days, because that's just going to push you away from the sport. I think that's the main thing is make the game fun early. So by the time you get to high school, and also it depends on what high school you go to. If you go to a more serious high school, everybody knows which ones those are. You might be a little bit more competitive, so it might be a little bit more yelling because of the tradition that the school has in that program. But also, it goes back to the transfer portal too, is find the right school that fits you and your playing time. Because even with my own son, he's 7, but I'm already thinking like, just because I live in a certain area, I'm not going to that school. I want him to have the best opportunity, and if we have to move, then we have to move. Um,
yeah.
I just think the days of just moving to a certain house and you go to that high school is over. But I would say
Mm.
go back to the question is just make it fun at an early age. It like you shouldn't be caring about winning in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. Like, are they getting better? If you pass them on to another coach, they should say, "Oh, my so and so coach taught me that."
Yeah. Yeah, and that because girls, I think in particular, right, are going to shut down. I think girls are really likely to shut down if
Oh
they feel
yes.
that they're like being attacked or they're being yelled at or treated in a certain way like that. And so that definitely I feel like can work. And like you said, finding a coach and finding a style that kind of works for them. And I think for to add on, I think for me, one of the things that I've always kind of tried to sell with girls and I think it's kind of worked is I've always kind of looked for those girls who like are just really like being active and really sell like the athleticism part, the idea of like getting up and down, playing both sides of the ball, that something is kind of always happening or always engaged or always doing something. And I think that not that other sports don't necessarily do that, but I kind of can find some of those girls who it's just like, hey, you're somebody I can tell who just always wants to keep moving. You're always like wanting to do something, always have something to do. So let's get that in a basketball setting. I'll teach you the basketball part because I know you have a high motor already and you like being up and down and athletic and moving. And so kind of selling kind of like the you're busy all the time. There's always something that you're doing part. I feel like girls have at least in my program have kind of really gotten bought into that part, especially depending on especially if you're a coach who really preaches like real up tempo or you're doing a lot of pressing or stuff like that. You can try and find those girls who just like, hey, you just have a high motor. Let's channel that and like see what we can do to make that into a basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at my head coaching stop at Brentwood, one of my main goals was I wanted to play a lot of people.
Hmm.
So I played about 11 people. Um, I played 11 people most of the time. It's a battle game. You might put it down to about 8, but most of the time I play 11 people. And I would tell you, out of 11, 9 of them complained about playing time, and which was funny to me. And then before the game, I had like an open shoot policy because the team could shoot it. So if you were open shooter, I believed in you. That was one of those gain of trust. I never really told a kid not to shoot. I may like take you out the game because you might go 0 for 5. Um,
Hmm.
but I never tell you not to shoot it. I just would be like, let's take a break. But I would say that team, that time in my life, I was I thought it would make the game fun because I talked to previous regime and they didn't have fun and it was kind of
Mm-hmm.
like we didn't get to shoot it. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna say everybody get to shoot, but then if you everybody get to shoot, then you gotta put the work in. So it kind of counterbalanced where girls are coming to the gym a lot to get shots up. So they knew like if I'm open and I worked on this, I get to shoot it. Coaches are gonna let me shoot it. So we kind of scored a lot of points during my time.
Yeah.
Um, and it was fun. The girls were happy. Um, and I thought we had a really awesome time that year. Like I said, we made 105 threes. The record in the state was 107, 300 305. The record is 307, sorry. But I wish I knew that. I would have broke that.
You would have gotten there.
I would have definitely smoked that one.
Yeah. But like it's the way that like you kind of sell the game, right? And I think that like okay, this is a fun way of playing, right? Girls like to shoot, girls like to the idea of scoring and being active in that sense. And so kind of selling that kind of fun play style is like, we'll keep girls involved. And there's a place for, grinding the game down and getting slowing down a little bit and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it
But I think
happens.
that like up tempo type game, and I know in my experience, we just got a shot clock. We didn't have a shot clock my first few years there. And I've seen other programs who play the stall ball and they don't do a whole lot and they're just kind of milking every possession a few minutes at a time. And I
Hmm.
could just like see the boredom on the court. And I just always thought as a coach, like even if we never get a shot clock, we will never play that way because I just don't believe in playing that way. And I just think like our girls would just be miserable if that's what, I made the sport like for them.
I don't like that style. I'm gonna say this. I don't like the slow down style, but I will do whatever I got to do to win the game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to work to your advantage, right? You got
Yeah,
to, yeah.
but I will be the last resort if I do it, which I have tried to do it this year with this team because we only have 9 girls. And it almost worked, but the girls didn't know how to slow down.
Oh,
So it was
really?
kind of
So what was
funny.
that? What
No,
was that experience like then? They were just going, going, going sort of thing.
I remember calling a timeout. I was like, hey, I want you to just hold the ball.
Yeah.
And everybody in the huddle just looked at me and was like, y'all want to win the game? This is what we got to do. And they was like, okay. So they get out there. They held it for maybe, I would say 40 seconds. And then the coach started getting up on them. And next thing you know, we turned the ball over. And I was like, oh man, this ain't gonna work. But
Yeah.
I tried it. It didn't work.
I think your girls though, and then kind of going back to keeping girls involved, like they'll know if you're trying, right? They'll know if you're like, hey, we're doing this because I think this is what might work for us. So let's try it out, see what happens. If it doesn't, we'll do something else or tweak it later. But like they can see the effort and like what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wanted them to be, at the end of the day, I'm gonna try to win. If we gotta play a zone, if we gotta go man, because I know some of the girls were discouraged after the season was like, we were doing a lot of losing. I don't know if I'm coming back, coach.
Hmm.
And I didn't get to make the schedule, and I think scheduling is like 90% of it. You got to make like a competitive schedule where there's some games you're probably definitely going to lose, and some games that you might win, and some 50-50s, just to keep them engaged. But if you go out there and knowing that every game is going to be a blowout, and you're going to be on the losing end, you're not going to keep any girls.
No, no, and no, that won't happen for sure. Coach, I wanted to ask about, what are things that you kind of maybe or do like kind of like in your practices or when you're like working with your team, whether it's like training sessions or practices that kind of keep the game exciting for them, keep the game interesting for them, especially when you are having a tough season. How do you kind of keep your girls, still kind of motivated and energized to be showing up in practice and working as hard and get better?
I would say during our shooting time, we always had the music going. Um, they tell me the name of the song, or I let them be the DJ for the time being. On those days, especially in the later of the season when you're doing a little bit more scouting and shooting. I would say during that time, we just keep it fun, keep it loose. Um, this year, we didn't do a lot of team dinners, but we'll probably get back to that next year. But I would say just music, having fun. We had one girl that loved to dance. So when she
Yeah.
hears this, she'll know who she is. But so we have, just keeping it loose. When you're losing 20 games in a row,
Hmm.
at that point, you just let them have fun.
Yeah. you gotta let them enjoy themselves. There's nothing that you can like say at that point that's gonna like make them, all of a sudden everything's gonna click, right? I feel like as a coach sometimes when you're really struggling, you try to like say too much, you try to say a lot, and it just can end up making things worse, and you just kind of have to, you know, make sure that they're kind of enjoying the experience still and sticking through it.
Yeah, we had small goals before the game.
Hmm.
If it was somebody got to get 10 points, if somebody had 17 or had a really good night, we'll celebrate them after the game. You got to kind of take the moral victory route when you in this type of season that I had, and understood that we're not going to be super competitive right now, but we can get better each game, and hopefully as we get better, the wins start happening. This school here hasn't won 20 games ever, and they've been open since I want to say 1996, 2006.
Yeah.
So
So, yeah.
they have one season at 19, one season at 14. Everything else has been under. So you kind of understand what a program's at. So it's like if you get a good group, this could be a really special season.
And I get the sense from hearing you kind of talk about it, and I'll let you explain it further though, that these like goals that you set when those goals got reached, I imagine your girls were really excited for each other to see their teammates like meet those goals or as a team meet a goal or be successful. I bet this was kind of a close group in the sense that when they did accomplish those things, they were really excited for themselves and for each other.
Yeah, I mean, even if we did miss the goal, like I had one girl,
Hmm.
she had to get a certain amount of points, and they were trying to force it to her. And you would just see the bench just get excited, and we were like, well, you look around, we're down 40. But the team is like, she got to score too. She got to score too. So you got to have a game inside the game just to keep it energized and understand. Like I said, we're just trying to get better each game. So hopefully, at one point in the season, it all clicks together, and we got that one win out of the 28 games.
And what was that feeling like when that win hit? What was the feeling like in the locker room after?
It was actually pretty good. Super excited. I'm gonna be honest. I thought we was gonna lose. um, the team was they were bigger than us, but we just started clicking in the second quarter. And I'm looking at my assistant. I'm like, I think we got a chance. And I
Hmm.
realized towards the end of the season that we played good at home. For some reason, that the home crowd, when that third quarter for us, and the third quarter, the fans started showing up for the boys' game. They helped us get over that hump, and we ended up winning that game. And it was a really good feeling because I was really scared we might lose every game.
So what a relief though. I imagine your players were, and if you don't have a tight team, your players might think that too, and they might play down to that level. But oh man, for them to get that win, it's like, okay, we stick to it and we stick with it and do the work and put in the work. Like these good things can happen. That's what it seems like. They saw the results of, the work and sticking with it.
Yes, like I said, we have five girls that never played varsity basketball. So
Yeah.
and you got nine total. It was an uphill battle.
And to keep them with it though, I mean that's incredible. And as you think about for you, coach, about how you're going to kind of keep these girls that you're bringing that you are going to return next year, what is kind of going through your mind about, okay, we got this group and how am I going to, build off of this and keep this foundation, keep these girls in my program, keep it, moving and get better for next year? What is your kind of thought process and how you're going to kind of build off of, that first year that you had the past year?
Well, I mean, I think I got some people coming in, some young girls coming in from middle school that can help us really get over that hump and also take some of the pressure off some of the girls. I would say this, a lot of girls don't want to be a star.
Mm.
A lot of pressure comes with that. Some people say they do. Some people, when it's time to, hey, you the go-to girl, a lot of people don't want that. And I love a star, and I'm gonna feed the star because it takes a different type of person to be okay losing with the team on their back and for being okay with that. So I think we got some people that can do that. That can help take some of the pressure off other people when it comes to ball handling, when it comes to shooting. So that's what I'm hoping will happen. We will see. We have tryouts at the end of next month in May, and let's see, who all shows up. Hopefully, it's too many. That'll be great. But
Yeah.
I wanna build a star again. I had one star, maybe a couple stars, and probably a couple stars that I let go, and I promised myself I wouldn't never do that again.
So what do you think a coach can do if they're in that situation where they got like a really talented person and maybe they're on the fence or maybe they're kind of like not 100% committed to being in it. How can a coach, do you think, kind of connect with that girl and kind of bring them in and make sure that they stick with it and don't lose them like you mentioned?
What I did, I mean, I don't know if it worked for everybody. I made her be the star.
Yeah.
It took a long time for her to be okay with it. But I would just, it was one game. Our best play was 1-4 flat, use at the top, and get to the basket. That was our best play.
Hmm.
Everybody kind of get out the way, and she's attacking. And I want to say it gave her confidence. I would have to ask her how she felt about it, but she had one of her better games where I'm like, if she don't see that she could be a really good player, then I don't know what will. So I will force somebody to be that person because that's what the team needs.
And did she end up like embracing that role? Did you notice like a change in her once she like was kind of basically told like, hey, this is gonna happen like no matter what? Like how did she kind of like grow into that sort of role?
That's a good question. She hated it at first. Well, she hated it for
Yeah,
a long
yeah.
time. And once she did, we started playing better. So
Hmm.
the team was a little bit more energized. And it was a lot of responsibility on her end, which I knew she didn't want because she didn't want that responsibility of, being that person to carry the team. But I want to say the team felt better. And I think she understood that and was like, I'm trying, I'm giving it my all. Her all was maybe at a 4, but I'm like, we need to get you at an 8. So we kind
Hmm.
of, it was a lot of talking, a lot of pregame talks, a lot of halftime talks with her. I just saw something special in her, and I think she could be a really special player. I just, wish she believed it enough to just let loose and say, I'm going to do it. Let's see what
So,
happens.
and sometimes maybe it's also sometimes a situation where it's like you see or a coach can see that potential in a girl, but they don't see it in themselves, and you really have to say like, "Hey, you're gonna step out of this comfort zone and separate yourself from everybody else because you have this ability and you have this potential in you, and you might be uncomfortable, and it might not be something you really feel like doing at first, but as a coach, I'm going to pour into you and help you get to that level, and maybe for some of our players, just having somebody who believes that they are, that special and that they do have the ability to be, a star and a leader in that capacity. Some of our players may just never have had somebody in their life who believes in them in that way, and it needs there to be a coach. There needs to be a coach who like kind of like you said, kind of puts that on them or knows that they can do it and kind of pushes them into that role.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of coaches do that. I think more coaches, as far as, and it's okay, they look at it from a team standpoint. But if I see somebody that can be an All-American or have their jersey retired, we're gonna set up a plan to be like, hey, this is what you got to do to get your jersey retired. Um, hey, this is what you got to do to get 1,000 points. This is what you got to do to be all-time leading scorer. I'm all for that, and I'm gonna make sure everybody hits their numbers that they need to hit, and also in a team concept.
Sure.
And but I'm always player first because I truly lean on. I want somebody to look back at their high school career, especially if I'm coaching it, and say, I left my legacy. We can go to the school wall of Hall of Fame, and these are my accolades. And I think that is something that you don't realize how much that means to you until you're 25, 30.
Mm.
And you're like, man, I really did all that. So I'm a
Yeah.
pour. If I can get a Mr. Basketball, Miss Basketball, whatever that is, I'm gonna make sure if I think you can do it, we're gonna go for it.
And yeah, that's a really good point because, we as coaches can kind of see the end result, right? We can see that, okay, if this girl, gets this effort poured into them and they put in this effort in return and they're pushed beyond what they think they're capable of, in the long run, that's what's best for them. And they might not want to do it when they're 14, 15, or 16 years old, but if they are putting in that work and they're putting in that effort and they're being pushed to that level now, like you said, they can look back, 15, 20 years from now, whatever it is that they're doing in their life, and they're like, man, like maybe I'm really successful where I am in life right now because I learned that work ethic and I was pushed beyond my comfort zone and I developed those skills when I was younger because I had a coach who poured into me, and maybe they wouldn't be in that same position if, they were just kind of allowed to blend in with everyone else.
Right. I mean, I had a young lady who probably got on my nerves, but I was okay with it. But she ended up being one of my favorites. I'm a coach to say who's my favorite. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
that everybody has a favorite on the team, and it may not be the leading scorer, but it's just somebody that always puts in the time, and you see them putting the energy, or it just anything that I feel like when I like the way they play. But she wanted to go to college, and she was like, "How am I get there?" Well, I told her she does her 50%, which is getting in
Hmm.
the gym and working on. At that point, she needed to be a corner three specialist, and she hated it. But I'm like, if you want to go, this is what you got to do. Corner three specialist. So she ended up doing that, and then towards her senior year, I had to come to her in the middle of the summer and be like, "Hey, you're coming off the bench, but I'm giving you the green light, but you're coming off the bench." She cried, but it worked out for her. She ended up going to a really good D3 school, um, and playing right now at Swanee, and she's loving it. And I'm
Hmm.
like, every time I see her play, I'm like, man, like she really poured into it, believed in herself, and she's a really good shooter now. And I'm really happy for her.
Oh, that's awesome. Just to see what that end result is and know like, okay, I know all the countless hours in the gym and all the work that went into that and to see that kind of where that took her, that's great. Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
And that leads, Coach, something I know we kind of touched on earlier, but I was going to segue into this question as well about, for our girls that we have, Coach, who are currently interested in the idea of playing in college, how do we, keep them motivated to playing at that next level? What do we have to do as coaches to kind of get them ready for the collegiate level of women's basketball and also get them excited, motivated to want to play at that level?
That's a really good question. I would say one, you gotta make them, gotta build a confidence. I'm gonna say confidence is key.
Hmm.
Confidence is key. I'm gonna say from a high school standpoint, um, put them in a position where they could play at the next level. If they're going to be a stretch four, let them be a stretch four. If they're going to be a post, really focus in like, hey, I told this one young lady, she's kind of short, and I was like, at your height and your speed, you got to be a really good 3-point shooter. So you got to shoot 40% or better this season. Just that's the mark you got to hit. So she ended
Hmm.
up doing that, crushing it, and that's now she's a marksman. But it's just little goals like that where you gotta be like, if you want to play, you probably got to do this before we even talk about college. I need to see you put that work in. So then when the colleges come, they're like, hey, coach, because coaches hit me all the time in my DMs and be like, coach, do you got a shooter for me? You got a post? You know anybody? And that'll be my first recommendation if I know you're putting that work in, because I'm not gonna recommend anybody that's not doing or can play
Putting the
on that
work in.
level. I
Hmm.
can't do it. So I don't want to mess up my name. So I would say get a plan with them early. I'm very one to be like, hey, I'll meet you. Be like, hey, what school you want to go to? I mean, my first 5 questions, and they might say, hey, I want to go to North Carolina. I want to go to Tennessee or whatever school, and I'd be like, okay. Then we might have a realistic conversation, and then or be like, if you want to go to those schools, I need you to do this. So it's just one of those paths to kind of build it out. And then once they build the confidence up, then you really like, I think you can go here, here, here. Let me talk to some people I know and we'll get back with you. And then I would say picking the right AAU team, even though I know I'm high school, but picking the right AAU team is probably really, really, really important. Some AAU teams are D1 producers.
Mm-hmm.
Some are D3 and below, and some are just regular, like you playing at your local high school, and that's it. I think picking the right AU team and kind of researching of what that AU team produces. Do they produce schools that you want to go to?
Mm. Yeah. And I like that like you said initially about like figuring out where their plans are and what it is they want. Because I know for a lot of my girls, I don't think, and maybe your experience is a little bit different, but I know in a lot of conversations I have with my girls, they're not exactly sure where their skill set even is, or like where, they're even potentially have as options. And some of them have, they think that they play one way, but they actually are, maybe much better than that, and others maybe on the opposite. And I think it's as coaches, we have an obligation to kind of let them know, like, okay, what is it you want? Where is it that you think you're at? And then like, okay, let's kind of see if your expectations kind of match up with the reality of where you are, and then you can kind of like build it from there.
I would say kind of I mean, to me, I watch a lot of girls basketball. That's my thing. I'm not a boys fan anymore right now. But I think a lot of schools they run different stuff, but the base of the like a lot of dribble drive, a lot of 3-point shooting is always going to be key. I think it's a premium post players. I wish girls would lean into that a little bit more. But I think it just depends on the high school coach of actually do they even watch girls basketball to be like, hey, you would do a good fit at this school.
Mm,
I think that goes the extra mile for the coach. Like if I know a girl that's going to a certain school that we already know she's committed there, I will watch them play and then probably add 3 or 4 plays that they do into our playbook,
mm.
just so they can get kind of comfortable of like, I saw this play that your school ran. I think we should run it. I will do that.
Yeah, always kind of learning. I think when you have those, when as a coach, you're like keeping up with that sort of stuff, and you can say, okay, like this is kind of things that are being run at the collegiate level. Maybe if I can incorporate some of that, or bring some of those skills or sets or whatever the case may be into my program, then you kind of even just like gets a little bit more like familiarity of like how the game is played at the college level, and kind of bridges that gap. So if they do go play college, maybe it's stuff they've already been exposed to because their coach already kind of taught them some of it or showed them some of that stuff.
Yeah, so it kind of makes the learning curve a little easier. And then also
Yeah.
when the coach comes out to watch them play, they can already get an envision of, oh, we do run something like that. I like her when she drives and kick. She got to stay because she's a really good shooter. We need a girl that can really be a really good shooter. So you can have that, or somebody get to the basket really good. Put them in positions of, different schools. Everybody kind of run the same stuff. They just steal it and tweak it. So
Hmm.
I think, especially the dribble drive, but I think just trying to do the extra mile as a coach is trying to put them in positions where you got to watch a girls basketball to be like, I think you'll fit here in this offense that we can run.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, that's awesome. I completely agree. Coach, I wanted to ask you about what do you think we can do as a coaching community? You're a girls coach, I'm a girls coach. What can we kind of do to get new coaches excited about, coaching girls? What can we kind of do to get these guys or girls who maybe haven't coached in the girls game, they don't know a lot about the girls game, and they never really thought about the girls game, but kind of get them into the fold and get them excited about the idea of coaching girls?
It's a good question. What could we do? I would say I normally, even when I hire assistants, I try
Hmm.
to do the young ones just to give them a shot. I'm a little on the fence on that moving forward, but I would say,
Oh, really?
I would say, I would say start with middle school. I would
Hmm.
start with middle school because if you could do middle school, as far as like just loving how they kind of react to certain things, those girls will run through a brick wall for you. They're trying their hardest at that point. They're gonna listen to you, and also as a new coach, you kind of want to learn your style. I think I watch a lot of other coaches, and I kind of take different styles from different people.
Hmm.
But I would say that I would say probably in AAU, start with a young AAU team. I haven't got into the AAU side of things. Sometimes I wish I would like to. It just the time commitment is a little hard. And I want to be at a serious. I want girls to go to school. I'm really passionate about that. So, but I would say start younger, and I would say try to find somebody to give you opportunity. I think for me, I coached JV for 5 years, and I really got better at working with minimum talent because the varsity would take it.
Yeah.
So I would say start with JV and kind of like I used to joke with my assistant was just like, give me some talent and I'll show you how to win. Because I
Mm.
felt like I was really good with the JV team, the best I could.
It forces you, and I did JV too. It really forces you to like maximize what it is that you have. You're not going to be winning those games because you got a player who's just going to like take over. You really have to
Right.
design schematically as a system, or you really got to work on your coaching to really put something together that's going to help your team be successful. Because there's going to be no winning on just raw talent alone, right?
There's no winning. Nobody's at the game. It's a nasty brand of basketball. But at the same time, you're having fun because you're like calling timeouts, yelling at the refs a little bit, and trying to get, maybe 20 points if need be, depending on how the girls' game is. But I would say the JV, I really I got better with JV, coaching JV.
Mm, yeah, but definitely to that, what I was thinking as as you were saying that is like I think you bring up a great point is it's a great opportunity, especially like you said at those younger levels for coaches to really work on their coaching especially in an environment that's not like super high stress.
Hmm.
Like you said, right? There's not a lot of people watching those JV or freshman girls basketball games in my case. Gym's empty. So if
Gym is
you
empty.
really want to work on your coaching and feel like you're not feeling a lot of pressure to win or be successful. Wins are great, but it's not, the end all be all. And again, you're probably not working with the highest skill level that there is. So it's you, and you get to figure out what works and what doesn't work and put them in situations to see what you find success with. And if something isn't successful, it's not the end of the world because it's a freshman or JV game. But if you find something
Right.
that works, it's something you can add to your coaching portfolio. It's just like, to me, I think it's like one of the best low pressure situations just to focus on your coaching.
I would say when I was at Brentwood and I was assistant coach at the time, me and the head coach would always be like, "Hey, we want to find one or two girls that we can move up at the end of the year because they were under." We used to treat JV as like a D League team and just be like, "We just want to get better." So if it was one girl, if she could dribble hard right hand, we're just gonna get better at all right hand dribble to the
Mm.
basket where she get fouled every time. And it ended up happening where she got moved up. She played really good defense, helped us win a game. So we felt like that was a really good, awesome JV year because the development of that team helped us win a district game.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, I think, of this idea of like, you have these players who are very raw. You talked about it, right? You had girls come in who never played before, and you don't have the ability to get them great or even good at like everything. So you kind of brought up this idea of like you have those things that you're gonna like focus on, right? Like we're can't get great at everything, but we can get great at, a certain few things and like get those mastered.
Hmm.
It also probably helps make the game a little bit more manageable for the girls because they don't feel that they have to be perfect at everything. There's like certain skill sets that they can really hone in on. Hopefully, then that will get them excited to want to get better at the other aspects of basketball too.
Right. Once you see a little bit success, you're gonna pour in and be like, okay, let me try this. And you'd be like, well, calm down.
Hmm.
So once a little success happens, and then they're getting more varsity minutes because they done been on the JV side of things, then you can really see them shine. But no, seeing the progression of girls, that was really exciting to me. I'm still, like I said, friends to the girls this day. See them on Instagram, having a great time in college. But it's just happy to see them flourish.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then my follow-up question to that, coach, before we hit our concluding segment is we have coaches also who are maybe have been on the girls' side for a bit, and then they're just they're waiting to hop over to like a boys' position, or they're move on to something else. They're kind of using girls' basketball coaching as kind of just a temporary placeholder before they move on to something else. And I was curious your thoughts, coach, on what can we do to kind of keep our existing coaches who've been coaching girls for a while to want to stay on the girls' side and not just have one eye looking at something else or just waiting for another opportunity on the boys' side or elsewhere. What can we do to try to keep them in the girls' programs?
That's a really good question. I've never seen the hopping back and forth on the boys and
Oh,
girls sides.
I have. I've seen it here. I've seen quite a few coaches who just are waiting for a boys' job. they coach girls, but they're like when a boys' job opens, poof, they're gone. So I mean,
Man,
maybe that's not an issue over where you are in Tennessee, but it's definitely something we see here.
no, we have a I don't see. I mean, I've seen it a little bit, but I don't see it as much as. I mean, the girls, like I said, girls basketball here is really good. Um, People try to stay for a long time. I would say, I think that would come down to the hiring process too, though. Like
Hmm.
talking to that coach and be like, "Hey, what's your end goal? Do you want to go to boys?" That's okay if they do, but also have somebody to step in to kind of keep it going. Um, but I really don't know on that one because we don't have a lot of flip flop.
Hey, I'm
Um,
glad. I'm
I
glad you
would,
don't.
yeah, yeah, I'm sorry on that one. I don't
No, no,
have
that's
anybody
good.
that would come to mind.
But you brought up a good point, and I think it's true about the hiring process is really, feel out like why they are like excited about coaching girls basketball, right? Really make sure that like being on the girls side is something that they're really excited about. I think is definitely a valid question. And you kind of ask about like, hey, why are you, interested in this girls job in particular? Like what about coaching girls do you enjoy, or about girls basketball do you enjoy? Um, I think that'd be a really valid question. I also think too, just as I spitball some ideas too, I think for coaches, they see the maybe they see the attention that their school has or their state or area has for the boys game, and they see, the attendance level or all the, the hype and everything that goes around in the boys game. And I think as coaches, like that's got to be a priority that we have for the girls game, is that we make our program like really excited. We make it accessible. We invite people from the community. We do everything we can to make our games as, big time of a feel as possible. And I think if you really pour in that effort and you really, build it up and get people to come out and support your girls, you'll feel that it's just like, a boys game. You'll feel that the excitement, the love, and the support is there, but you got to put in the effort. I don't think, at least for me speaking, I don't think that, our community is necessarily going to be as eager at first to go to a girls' game as they will if a guys' game. But if they're being advertised to, and if they're, being formally invited, and you're creating a exciting culture, I think you can build it and keep them there, and then you're not going to want to leave.
I mean, I would definitely, you definitely hit something. I would say we have some schools here that have really turned the atmosphere around at the girls' game,
Hmm.
where a lot of their pregame um, participation with the students is during the girls' game only. So they'll get a really good girls' crowd, and I would kudos to that administration. But I think a lot of that is administrative. The athletic director is really saying, I'm going to do everything I can to get the attendance up. If that's bringing students, if that's, hey, if they come to a game, we're going to do giveaways, all that stuff. All that the goodies are done during the
Hmm.
girls' game because they're going to show up to a boys' game, and I understand it. You're never going to get a boy game that's super empty, um,
Hmm.
especially during the district time. But I would say to piggyback, just to have all the goodies and the giveaways and the drawings during the girls' game where they got to show up early.
Yeah.
But there is some schools that do it here, and there's one school not too far from me that has really turned it around. And every time I go there, I'm like, man, they really care, and I like it.
Yeah, and like you said, sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot, right? There's little like promotional things you could do. There's little things that you can do to kind of like build up, little things of excitement. There's definitely ways to get creative. I'm fortunate enough where I've been there long enough at Metro that, I can do alumni nights, and I can have girls come back, and then, some of their teachers will want to come back to catch up with them and like build like these kind of fun and exciting things like that. So I think if you get creative and even ask your girls, right? Your girls might have some real cool ideas about things that they would want to do, or like have like little like events or like spirit things they can do in games. You leverage that, because if they can get bought in and they want to do things to make those games exciting, like that's really cool, because then they take ownership of it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try that. I'll let you know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Coach, to wrap up, there's a couple questions I ask every guest, so I'll go ahead and start with this first one. Thinking back on your coaching career, what is a specific moment from your coaching career that you think by sharing that our listeners would be able to learn from?
I would say my biggest one is my last year at Brentwood. We had some incidents that kind of went on outside of the program and that affected the whole team. And I would say during that time, I probably should have spoke with a therapist. One because of just I talked to my wife about some stuff, and she ended up having her own situation with Bell's palsy. Because we just had a baby, and our 10-month-old was giving her a hard time. So she didn't really share what was going on with her, but I was sharing what was going on with the basketball team, and she didn't want to communicate with me. And I would say if I probably should talk to a therapist, because I put a lot of pressure on myself, probably in an unhealthy manner. I really want to be good at girls basketball, coaching in general. And I know probably this season or when I feel like I need it, I probably will talk to a therapist on a regular basis. Probably do it again because going losing 20 some games was kind of rough. So I would say probably adding a therapist into my season is something that I'm going to do because as a coach, it's hard to talk to people that don't know what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
assistants kind of know what you're going through because they're there, but I realized that I'm a people pleaser. So, like I said, I would play 11 girls and I would want all girls to score 10 points. I would want everybody to be happy. And we would win games that last year and girls would be crying because they didn't get enough shots or they didn't do certain things. And it bothered me because I'm trying to keep it as fun and keep it light. But I would, vent to my wife about it, which is probably a good idea. And but not knowing she was going through her own thing, that I probably should talk to a therapist, a sports therapist, to kind of see what I could do on that end of help myself have fun again. That season was not as fun because my enjoyment is seeing others have fun. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So I would say my biggest takeaway is learning just I'm trying not to be as hard on myself. I hate losing. I know in my 40 something games, 40 some games that I lost, I probably know every single one of them why we lost. Um, and after a win, I don't even care. Does that make sense? Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
even.
yeah.
I check the win off like a box, but the loss will eat me up. I can't sleep. So, like I said, losing those games, it bothered me, and I think adding a therapist to my life would probably help me.
Yeah, yeah, especially because like you mentioned, especially like sports psychologists, sports therapists, right? There's stuff I think that we as coaches do that it's just hard to have somebody to talk to who like doesn't quite understand it, right? Or doesn't quite kind of know we're going through a very unique journey that keeping that stuff bottled up definitely isn't healthy. I appreciate your vulnerability, coach, and sharing that because I think we all could benefit on checking our mental health for sure. Coach, to wrap up. I like to give every guest what I like to call a 60-second soapbox. You can go over 60 seconds. I just like to put a 60-second title to it because it sounds nice. But I like to use it, coach, as a way for you to kind of get out a kind of a final thought, a final idea, a closing message, just something that you can like leave the listeners with. You can take it any direction that you want, basketball wise or coaching wise, because it's your soapbox after all. So, coach, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor here and just let you take it from here.
Man, you really want me to have a soapbox here. This is gonna be interesting. I would say, I mean, oh man, I'll say the one that kind of hits home for me is I wouldn't don't let the basketball or any sport ruin family relationships. I see that a lot where girls and their parents just fall out over basketball,
Mm,
or it's the beginning of a fallout because of basketball. And I would say like it's just a game, and at the end of the day, it will be over soon, and you have many years to be together. So I'm gonna say, don't let sports ruin family or a home or anything, and support your kid. Be realistic with your kid. I'm my son's 7, and I'm probably too honest with him, um, because I want to be the first honest coach that he meets. So, but we keep it fun and keep it light. But I would say, don't let the sport ruin a family or break up any dynamic of any sort.
yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. We should be positive experiences, right? We don't want it to be something that leads to that level of negativity or problems. We definitely want our players and everyone to associate the game with something positive, not something that was stressful or led to relationship, problems or things of that nature. No, I love that you mentioned that, Coach. And again, Coach, I really want to say thanks for coming on here and talking about keeping the girls in the game, talking about, the state of girls basketball, your journey, your experiences, talking about what you've done and kind of how you're kind of building things at Centennial. I know it was kind of a big ground zero start that you had this first year, but, the things you did to even keep things fun and exciting for your girls this year is great. And I know that you probably got a lot of big plans coming up and a lot of things that you're ready to do for the summer and the off season to keep them excited and keep it going. So I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you so much for coming on here and talking to us. Best of luck as you continue on Centennial. Get that program growing, and the wins are going to follow.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully we'll do it again, and I'll tell you we went 40 and or 20 and 0.
Awesome. I love that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.